started this gangster shit. Just the mother thanks I get. Hello. I started this gangster shit. And it's the mother thanks I get. Hello. The mother.
No, I had a bad feeling about Zack Snyder's new straight-to-Netflix movie, Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. I just thought, I don't know, something about this makes me feel like it's not going to go the way that maybe it should. And it could be for several reasons. I mean, the fact that it was a failed Star Wars pitch that Disney Lucasfilm in the 2020s rejected. Like, I think Disney Lucasfilm is hiring off at Tumblr right now. They're rejecting Zack Snyder. What the hell is going on? And lo and behold, we're greeted with this news from the Fandom Pulse, fandompulse.com, the new name in real-based entertainment news. Go check them out. Zack Snyder and Netflix humiliated. Oh, not humiliated. That's like being embarrassed, but worse. It's like being embarrassed and degraded. Humiliated by 0%. Seto! What percent? Seto% of top critics. Seto. Rating for Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. Zeros. And that is sad. Evidently, this is going to mark a low point in Zack Snyder's career. Lower even than Sucker Punch, which held a relatively respectable 22% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. But Zack Snyder's new film, straight to Netflix, Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, is receiving a less than stellar reception. It's a new low, not a new low, a record low. It's record. They're breaking records in Seto% of top critics on Rotten Tomatoes for the director. The sci-fi epic, initially conceived as a Star Wars pitch, garnered a perfect Seto score for top critics on the review aggregator site, signaling trouble for the Netflix project. Yeah, it's trouble. I'm worried about it. It does seem to portend stormy days ahead. But I could have said something about that. The reason why I felt bad about this, the reason why I was like, something's wrong here, is because Zack Snyder decided to hand the comic book version of his new epic Rebel Moon over to writer Mags Visaggio, who was there in attendance at the premiere. He saw me and went, "Mags!" and hugged me. This picture looks familiar. This right here is the face of a man who got too close to what people in Hollywood might call the right, the MAGA right, and is now making amends for it by sucking up to the dregs of the SJW cancel pig woke, creative community. Mags Visaggio would be at the very bottom of that list of bottoms, I would say. This is a typical. We've seen this before. I don't want to name names, but when I expect to see a few people in recent news taking photographs with Mags Visaggio. Once you've taken a picture with Mags Visaggio, it's basically like saying, "I'm so sorry for almost being sensible. I want to apologize to all of you weirdos, all of you perverts, for, even daring to think that maybe we should lower taxes and maybe people have the right to self-defense. And I don't know. I mean, perhaps cancel culture is not such a good thing. Why would I think that? Why? Oh, it's ridiculous. You take a picture of yourself next to this monstrosity, and there you go. That's your way of saying, sorry about that, everyone. Sorry about that woke crowd. Sorry about that woke Hollywood. Here it is, Rebel Moon premiering. Oh, this is disgraceful. At Grauman's Chinese. I think this is where Star Wars: A New Hope premiered, way back in the year 1977, when I was but a wee lad. I did see it in theaters. I do remember that. I didn't see it in this theater. I lived in Provo, Utah, but I did see it in theaters. So this is, again, this does mark a new low. You can feel it, can't you? Do you feel it, like, up your spine? Like, oh, Zach, are you okay? Wellness check. Somebody do a wellness check on Zack Snyder right now. Not you. Not you. Anyone else but you. Do a wellness check on Zack Snyder. All right, Snyder's previous worst-scoring film, Sucker Punch, which was absolutely abysmal. I mean, it really was. The dregs. It looked nice. It looked nice, and there were parts of it that Just we're like, hey, that's a pretty neat kind of superhero-y kind of thing. And then you find out what the film's actually about. You're like, whoa, oh, and you start to cry. It's just absolutely terrible. There's something is. I know a lot of you like him, but there's something wrong with this dude. Sucker Punch. Rebel Moon, the lowest point in his career, according to critics. The film set to debut on Netflix follows a lone warrior's quest to unite a peaceful. We're just a bunch of peaceful farmers. That's all we are. All right, so communists against read peaceful farming colony. Read communists against a tyrannical galactic empire. In other words, the Trump regime, Trump administration, and represents Snyder's second major collaboration with the streaming giant after Army of Dead in 2021. I gotta finish that movie. Listen, I'm a big fan of Zack Snyder's Dawn of Dead 2004 remake. To me, that's what launched the zombie craze of the 2000s. Walking Dead would not be here, would not exist if it weren't for Zack Snyder and James Gunn, who got together and they made, Dawn of the Dead remake. Much better than the original, in my opinion. I know, don't hate on me. It's just I really like it. I can watch that film over and over again. Here's Zack Snyder with a look on his face like, you might think that it's pride, but it isn't. It's the opposite of that. The glaring criticism aimed at Rebel Moon revolves around its lack of originality, drawing parallels to Snyder's failed Star Wars pitch and borrowing heavily from a range of cinematic influences. Critics argue the film didn't do enough to distinguish itself from George Lucas. You got it, like, you can do a Star Wars thing if you want to, but you got to do something a little bit different. You got to distinguish your thing from their thing. And then all of these other things. Oh, look, it stole from Seven Samurai, which Star Wars did, to be fair. But then Avatar, Ghost in the Shell, Starship Troopers, Dune, and Game of Thrones. It's too many. It just seems like, a lot of ingredients in this soup. Critics of weak character development. That's me. I am. Critiques. I'm sorry. Critiques of weak character development. Because I'm a critic of weak character development. I would be like, this character development is not very strong. A predictable plot, poor pacing, and an excess of slow motion action scenes. Oh my God. It's like the Justice League HBO thing. That entire movie was like 5 hours, and it would have been 40 minutes if we had just avoided any of the slow motion action sequences. And that really slowed the whole thing down. I was like, whoa, can we just... I get it. Wonder Woman blocks the bullets. Can we speed it up a little bit, please? Many reviews suggest that Rebel Moon Part 1 is an extended setup for a sequel, and that's contributing to the negative reception. Despite, I like, I gotta admit, I like the baldacity, balls and audacity, baldacity. It's a word that we're learning around here. Vocabulary, the English language. I like the baldacity of getting to do a movie for Netflix, getting a budget, and then calling it Part 1. You just go, this is Child of Fire Part 1. This is Child of Fire Part 1. There's a Part 2, right? You guys gonna give me more money to make Part 2? You better, because this is Part 1. Where's Part 2? There's a Part 2. I like that. That makes sense to me. That's a nice, that's a really good grift. A really kind of interesting way of extorting a sequel out of poor Netflix. Netflix is just like, we got to do another one of these. Despite the critical backlash, Snyder has a devoted fan base known for, that's you guys, prioritizing his distinct directorial style over critical acclaim. It's not just that. I mean, I think that Zack Snyder, loves his fans. He really, truly does. And this is why, there's something about the way that, imagine walking up to Mags Visaggio and knowing who he is and being like, hey, Mags, what's up, buddy? How you doing, pal? That's somebody who's aware. That's somebody who's good with people. And I think Zack Snyder is, known for kind of, he's culminated curated this fan group that absolutely loves him, and they're called, I think they call themselves Snyder Bros or something like that. I think Mags Visaggio is one of the Snyder Bros. And this is important. I mean, it's very good to be good to your fans, obviously. And I think one of the things that they like about his work is that it is stylistically beautiful. he really paints a lovely picture. It's just that the picture, the actual content of the thing that he renders the hell out of all right, so at the end of the day, you go, that was beautiful to look at, but what did I just take into my heart and my brain? And that's been the problem with Zack Snyder. His movies just tend to be beautiful and depressing. And they leave people walking away feeling kind of uneasy. At least me. At least that's how I feel. And others did too. Zack Snyder had trouble at DC Comics, Warner Brothers, because they were just like, wait, these are the Super Friends. Why are you making them so depressing? And Zack Snyder had his reasons, I'm sure, but they were at odds with what Warner Brothers wanted. So if that's your thing, then you're probably going to be a Snyder devotee. You like it. You consider that to be deep. You're into it. Critics score indicating a potential disconnect between mainstream critics, the director's dedicated followers. All right, so here's well, it's doing better. Look, according to the thermometer, 26% overall, 39 reviews. Let me blow this up a little bit so we can just take a look and see what people's are saying about Rebel Moon. Are you going to see this, by the way? I want to see. Let's see what some of the critics are saying here. A hugely expensive but uninspired Star Wars knockoff with some thrilling action sequences and some truly ugly moments that taint the entire thing. This is exactly what I'm saying. This is what I mean. There's like an overall kind of ugliness of spirit about what Zack Snyder does. I don't know why, but it's not just me that thinks that. I guess it's critics who are, these top critics who are largely agreeing with me and my assessment of things. Snyder mistakes exposition for world building, the lugubriously delivered. Reams of backstory, removing the audience from the fantasy rather than immersing them in it. A movie that feels like a million isolated storyboards without a single thing welding them together. That's not good. That's IndieWire. That's David Ehrlich. Look at him. He looks like he's just seen the movie. He seems upset. Now here we have a good review. An entertaining filtering of science fiction and general storytelling tropes through the lens of creator-director Zack Snyder. So this guy's saying, I like the fact that he ripped off every single sci-fi movie over the last 70 years and just crammed it all together and just presented it as one of his own things. I like that. All right, so that's good. That's a good review. Despite existing in a galaxy with 1,000 star systems and worlds, there is no sunlight in the thing or charm. It is an unrelentingly bleak cosmos that mistakes lack of humor for lack of life. Wow. Zack Snyder disappoints in a galaxy far, far away as his space opera franchise stumbles with a contrived start. Rebel Moon Part 1 Child of Fire is an uninspired mishmash of familiar themes, characters, and settings. See, people are all agreeing with this, mostly. Let me see. It's a film populated by some of Justice League Snyder Cut filmmakers' worst impulses. A mess of imagery, some of it attempting to shock, corrugated largely around the idea of what might look good in a trailer. Oh my God. Well, speaking of trying to look good in a trailer, here is, again, Zack Snyder with Max Visaggio at the premiere of, the new movie, Rebel Moon, Child of Fire. Max Visaggio, comic book writer, did write the comic book adaptation, and I'm sure it's every bit as good as the movie itself. And, it might be worth picking up to do a review. As I say that, I'm like, should I say that? Should I make a promise that I would pick this thing up and review it? I don't know if I even want to do that. It's terrible. All right, I'm Ethan Van Sciver. What do you think? Are you going to go see this movie? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Obviously, please do subscribe to this channel. Help me push back against the shadow banning empire. The empire of shadow banning. That is trying to suppress this channel and the brilliant things that I say every single day that everybody needs to hear. Just kidding. Share this video, like this video, and please check out Cyberfrog 3 and all of my other Cyberfrog campaigns. Go to our eBay store. There are lots of specials right now on Cyberfrog and Comicsgate merchandise and comic books. Go there, check that out. But in the meantime, here's the trailer for Cyberfrog Tra.